Good morning, Year 2. Welcome to your third art lesson, which I'm just getting ready for us. There we go. Okay, right. So today we are going to carry on with thinking about our landscape pictures. And for this lesson, you're going to need some paper or your sketchbook and a pencil. And if you can, some photographs or pictures of things that you think you might like to include in your landscape picture. So things like trees, mountains, streams, fields, or buildings or cottages. Over the last few weeks, we have started to learn about these two artists. They worked in very different ways with their landscapes, and they painted these two pictures over here, one of the Lake District and one of Lake George in America. But can you remember which painted which picture and what their names were? Take a few moments to tell a grown-up that you've got with you what you can remember. Okay, let's see how you got on. Did you remember that this was George O'Keeffe? She's known as a modern artist, and this is Beatrix Potter, and she was more of a naturalist artist. She painted this picture of the Lake District, and Georgia painted this quite surreal picture of Lake George in America. Let's see what you remember about Georgia. Did you remember that she was born in 1887 in Wisconsin in America? She was inspired by the natural landscape around her, all the beauty that she could see. In those days, it was very unusual for a lady to be a successful artist, but she went on to become very successful and very famous. In fact, she was known as the mother of modern art. And that's because she painted nature in a way that hadn't been painted before. She didn't paint it as we see it, but she painted it in very bold, bright colours to reflect how she was feeling. And she moved to New Mexico in the United States of America, where she painted these stunning desert landscapes. And this is Beatrix Potter, our very own Beatrix Potter. She was born in 1866 in London, in England. She loved nature and would spend ages copying what she saw, all the plants and animals and the fungi, that's the mushrooms, that she observed as a child. In the summer holidays, her family would take her to Scotland and Wales, and especially the Lake District, and that's when she fell in love with the British countryside and the animals that she saw there. And in fact, she's best known as a children's author and illustrator, so she wrote books like Peter Rabbit and Squirrel Nutkins that you might have heard of. She also painted landscapes, these beautiful landscapes, but she used very natural colours, often in watercolours, that reflected more of the real world, even though she made her animals behave like humans. And you can see here, there's a painting of Derwent Water, the Lake District, and it's actually the same painting. Can you see the background is the same? But on this picture, she's actually added her little characters for her book, Squirrel Looking. And she moved to the Lake District in 1905, and that's when she spent a lot of her time in conservation, which means looking after the land, keeping it looking beautiful for us. Okay, now it's your turn to start doing some drawing. So can you go and get yourself a piece of paper? And what I want you to do is have a look at these 4 pictures that Georgia painted. This one we saw earlier, the famous Black Mesa Mountains. And I would like you to pick out any little ideas that you like, that you think that you might like to include in your landscape picture. And I wonder if you can use this vocabulary down here to help describe what you see. So, for example, I really like these little blobby trees that she's got reflecting in the lake here. So I'll pop those down there. And it's interesting, isn't it? Because even though they look like little blobby marbles, we know that they're meant to be trees. I'll pop those down there. And I thought, oh, I can tell that when she's painted her picture, she sort of layered them. She's split her page almost into 3 parts. Can you see? And in the foreground, which is the bit that's the closest to you, meant to be the closest to you, we've got this sort of vegetation and greenery down here. And then we move back in layers further into the background until we've got these blue, powerful mountains sticking up right at the back. And over here, I quite like these little trees that are sticking out. So I think I might include a few of those over there for my ideas. And I quite liked in the foreground here, I like the detail that she added to these very sort of wispy, fuzzy trees that almost look like they're being blown as the picture is being painted. So I'll pop those down there as well. So pause the video now and spend a few moments jotting down on your picture, on your piece of paper, anything that you would like to include in your own picture. Okay, you looked at George's pictures and now we're going to have a little look at some of Beatrix Potter's landscapes as well. They look quite different, don't they? So again, we're going to use the same vocabulary to try and describe what we can see. So in the foreground here, this picture from Derwent Water, I can see these little trees. There's lots of little detail. I can see the leaves are really delicate, you see. And I noticed that actually she uses trees quite a lot in her paintings, and often they're right at the foreground. Can you see they're at the front of the picture? There's one down here as well, so they appear quite large, don't they? That's because they're closest to where we are, closest to where we're standing. And if we look through this gate, I thought this was a lovely gate, a lovely detail. It's right at the foreground, but as we look through, our eye is drawn across into the background, across miles and miles and miles across the Lake District. Can you see? And so it goes right into the background. And the further back we get, we look over here as well, the further we get into the background, it gets a little bit fuzzier, doesn't it? So we can see less and less detail, just like it would if you were actually stood on the picture, stood in the field. Sorry, I've gone too far. And I like this little cottage detail down here, these beautiful chimneys. So I've popped those in there. I might use that later on. Okay, so take a few moments, pause the video and jot down some of the ideas that you might like to use in your own landscape picture. Okay, now what you will have ended up with is two sets of ideas with some little jottings of Beatrice's ideas, Beatrice's pictures and some from George's pictures. And then if you are able, it's not essential, but if you are able to have a look around your house and see if you can find any pictures, perhaps in magazines, is where I found these ones from, of any natural things that you might like to include in your landscape as well. So I've found these mountains, I thought they look quite interesting. I found some water, I think this was from a perfume advert, and I've had a little go sketching with my pencil around the outside, just practicing what that might look like when I come to pop it onto my own landscape picture. Okay guys, so pause the video now and you can go and see if you can find anything around the house that you might like to stick to your ideas board. Okay guys, right, well done. I'm sure you've worked really hard at your pictures, your ideas boards, and I can't wait to see them. If you're able to, you can take a photo and post it up onto Dojo. Now you need to put your ideas board away somewhere safe because you're going to need them for next week. And for next week, you're also going to need some more paper or your sketchbook again and a pencil. And if possible, if you've got any colours in your house that you could use, any crayons, felt tips, any paints, any colouring pencils, any chalk, pastels, anything at all that you could experiment looking at the different colours with. Don't worry if not, because we'll also do a little bit with some shading with our pencils. Okay, have a nice week, guys. Bye-bye.